The trading post smelled of leather and dust, and Emma Carter's hands trembled as she placed her grandmother's silver locket on the counter. It was the last thing of value she owned, and her stomach had been empty for 2 days. $3, the shopkeeper grunted, barely glancing at the delicate filigree. Take it or leave it. Emma swallowed hard. $3 wouldn't last a week, but it would buy bread and maybe passage on a wagon heading west, away from the ruins of her life in St. Louis. Her father's gambling debts had claimed everything: the house, the furniture, even her hope of a respectable marriage. When he tried to sell her to his creditor to settle his accounts, she'd run with nothing but the clothes on her back and that locket. "I'll take it," she whispered. "No, you won't. Please take a moment to subscribe to the From Wild West channel and give this video a like. It's truly important to us and motivates our team to bring you more quality content like this. Your support makes these stories possible." The voice came from behind her, deep, rough, and oddly gentle. Emma turned to find a cowboy leaning against the doorframe, his clothes worn and patched, his hat pulled low over sun-weathered features. Dust covered his boots, and his shirt had seen better days, but his eyes, gray as a winter storm, held an intensity that made her breath catch. "The lady's business is her own, stranger," the shopkeeper said dismissively. The cowboy pushed off the doorframe and crossed to the counter with an easy stride that spoke of confidence despite his shabby appearance. He picked up the locket, examined it with surprising care, then looked at Emma directly. "This worth something to you?" Emma lifted her chin, trying to maintain some dignity even as hunger made her lightheaded. "It was my grandmother's." "Then you're not selling it for $3 to this thief." He tossed the locket back to her, and she caught it reflexively against her chest. "You need work, not charity, and I've got work that needs doing." "I don't," Emma started, but her stomach chose that moment to growl audibly. Something flickered in those gray eyes. Not pity. She couldn't have borne pity, but understanding. "My ranch is 3 miles north. I need someone who can cook and keep house. Room, board, and fair wages. Nothing improper. You'll have your own quarters. Name's Jack Thornton." The shopkeeper snorted. "Jack, you can barely keep yourself fed. What are you doing hiring help?" "My business, Turner." Jack's voice went cold. "The lady has a choice to make." Emma looked between them. Every instinct screamed danger. Accepting work from a stranger, riding off to an isolated ranch with a man she didn't know. But the alternative was selling her last connection to her grandmother for a pittance, then starving slowly in a town where no one would help a woman alone. "I can cook," she said quietly, "and I'm not afraid of hard work." Jack's expression softened, almost imperceptibly. He tipped his hat. "Then let's get you fed, Miss Carter. Emma Carter. Miss Carter." He gestured toward the door. "My horse is outside." The ride to the ranch revealed a landscape both harsh and beautiful. Rolling prairie stretched to distant purple mountains, broken by stands of cottonwood along a meandering creek. Jack rode ahead on a sturdy bay gelding, and Emma sat behind him because he had no spare horse, a fact that made her wonder what kind of ranch operation he truly ran. The ranch itself was modest but well-maintained. A small log cabin sat beside a barn that looked newer than the house. A corral held 3 horses, and chickens scratched in a yard, protected by neat fencing. It was the home of a man who took pride in what little he had. "Not much," Jack said, helping her down with hands that were calloused but gentle. But it's honest. Emma looked around, noting the garden plot already tilled for spring planting, the orderly stack of firewood, the clean windows in the cabin. It's more than I have. That evening, Emma discovered that Jack's pantry was better stocked than his appearance suggested. She made biscuits in gravy, fried salt pork, and strong coffee. Jack ate in silence, but she caught him watching her when he thought she wasn't looking. "You're running from something," he said finally, pushing his empty plate away. Emma's hands stilled in the dishwater. "That's my business." "It is. But if someone's going to come looking for you here, I need to know." She turned to face him, gripping the edge of the wash basin. "My father owes money to dangerous men. He tried to give me to one of them. I ran." "That's all you need to know." Jack stood, his chair scraping against the wooden floor. He moved to the window, staring out at the darkening prairie. "No one touches you here. Not your father, not his creditors, not anyone. You have my word on that." "Why?" Emma asked, her voice barely above a whisper. "Why help me? You don't know me." He turned back, and in the lamplight, she could see the lines around his eyes, the weariness that went deeper than physical fatigue. "Because someone helped me once when I needed it. Because you're not property. You're a person. And because—" He paused, seeming to choose his words carefully. "Because I see a woman worth saving." Emma felt tears prick her eyes, but she blinked them back. "I don't need saving. I need a chance." "Then that's what you'll get here." The weeks that followed established a rhythm. Emma rose before dawn to cook breakfast, cleaned the cabin, tended the garden, and prepared meals. Jack worked from sunrise to sunset, mending fences, training horses, riding the property line. He was a man of few words, but his actions spoke volumes. He never entered her room without knocking. He never stood too close. He never made her feel like payment was expected beyond her labor. But Emma couldn't help noticing the contradictions. His clothes were worn, but his horses were magnificent. His cabin was simple, but his tack was expensive leather. He ate simply, but his pantry never seemed to run low. When she asked about it, he shrugged. "I'm careful with money," was all he said. One afternoon, Emma was hanging laundry when a stranger rode up, a well-dressed man on a fine black horse. Jack met him by the corral, and their conversation was too low for Emma to hear, but she saw Jack shake his head firmly at whatever the man proposed. The stranger rode away, looking frustrated. "Who was that?" Emma asked when Jack came back. "Nobody important. Man wanted to buy some land. I'm not selling." But Emma had seen the thick envelope the stranger tried to give Jack, and the way Jack had refused it without even opening it. That night, she couldn't shake her curiosity. She found Jack in the barn, brushing down one of the horses by lantern light. The animal was magnificent, a thoroughbred that would fetch a fortune in any city. "Jack," she said softly, not wanting to spook the horse, "can I ask you something?" "You can ask." His hands never stopped their steady strokes along the horse's flank. "That man today offered you a lot of money for your land. Why did you refuse?" "Because land's not for sale." "But you could use the money. Your clothes, the cabin, everything's worn. You could—" "Could what?" He turned to face her, and something in his expression made her step back. Not fear, he would never frighten her, but surprise at the intensity in his gray eyes. "Buy fancier things? Live in a bigger house? What's the point of that?" "To be comfortable, to not have to work so hard." Jack set down the brush and walked toward her, stopping just close enough that she could smell horse and hay and something uniquely him. "You think I'm poor, Emma?" "I think you're proud," she said softly. Too proud to spend money on yourself. He laughed then, a short, bitter sound. That's one way to see it. Is there another? Jack was quiet for a long moment, studying her face in the lamplight. What if I told you I could buy a mansion in Denver tomorrow, that I could dress in silk and never work another day in my life? Emma blinked, confused. Then I'd ask why you live like this. Because I wanted to know, he said simply. I wanted to know who would value me for myself, not for what I could buy them. I wanted to know if anyone could see past the money to the man underneath. The implications of his words hit Emma like a physical blow. You're wealthy. My family owns half the railroad through Wyoming. I'm worth more money than you could count in a lifetime. He said it without pride or shame, just simple fact. I left it all behind 5 years ago because everyone I met saw dollar signs instead of Jack Thornton. Women wanted me for my bank account. Men wanted me for my connections. I got tired of wondering what was real. Emma took a step back, her mind reeling. So this, all of this, is a test? On some kind of experiment to see if poor, desperate Emma will fall for the humble cowboy? No. Jack reached for her, but she jerked away. Emma, listen. You lied to me. I never lied. I never claimed to be poor. You assumed, and I? He ran a hand through his hair in frustration. I let you assume because for the first time in 5 years, someone looked at me and saw a man worth trusting, not a fortune worth chasing. How convenient for you, Emma said, her voice shaking with anger and something else, hurt. Poor little rich boy, hiding in his barn, testing the desperate woman who had nowhere else to go. It wasn't like that, wasn't it? Tell me, Jack, would you have offered me work if I wasn't desperate? If I wasn't vulnerable enough to accept help from a stranger? The question hung between them, and the pain in Jack's eyes told her she'd struck true. I don't know, he admitted quietly. Maybe not. Maybe I am that much of a coward. Emma felt tears burning her eyes, but she refused to let them fall. Thank you for your honesty. I'll pack my things. Emma, wait. Why? So you can write the ending to your little experiment? No thank you, Mr. Thornton. She spat his name like a curse. I'd rather take my chances on my own than be your charity case. She stormed out of the barn, but before she reached the cabin, Jack's voice stopped her. I fell in love with you. Emma froze, her back still to him. That first day in Turner's trading post, when you held that locket like it was the only thing keeping you tethered to the world. When you chose dignity over desperation. When you looked me in the eye and said you weren't afraid of hard work. His voice cracked slightly. I fell in love with your strength, your grace, the way you hum while you cook, the way you talk to the horses like they're friends, the way you never once asked me for anything except a fair chance. Emma turned slowly, and in the moonlight, she could see Jack standing in the barn doorway, his hat in his hands, his expression raw with emotion. If you want to leave, I'll take you anywhere you want to go. I'll give you enough money to start fresh wherever you choose, but not because I pity you, because you've earned it. Because you've worked harder in 2 months than most people work in a year. Because you deserve every good thing this world has to offer. And if I stay, Emma heard herself ask, even though her mind screamed at her to leave, to protect herself from more hurt. If you stay, it won't be as my housekeeper. It'll be as my equal, my partner. He took a step forward, then another, closing the distance between them with careful deliberation. I'll sign over half this ranch to you tomorrow. I'll teach you everything I know about horses and land. and I'll spend every day proving that I see you, not your circumstances, not your past, just you. You're asking me to trust you, Emma said, and she couldn't keep the tremor from her voice. After you kept such a huge secret. I know I don't deserve it, but Emma, I'm asking anyway. He stopped an arm's length away, close enough to touch, but giving her space to choose. I'm asking because for the first time in my life, someone looked at me and saw something worth loving when they thought I had nothing to offer. You chose me when you thought I was just a struggling rancher. You valued me when you believed I was poor. That's what real love is, not based on what someone has, but who they are. You tested me, Emma whispered, the hurt still fresh. I did, and I'm sorry for that. But Emma, you tested me too, whether you meant to or not. You showed me what it means to have integrity when everything's been taken from you, to maintain grace when the world's been cruel, to work without complaint and find joy in simple things. You reminded me why I left my family's money in the first place, because this honest life is what matters. Emma closed her eyes, warring with herself. The logical part of her brain said to leave, to protect herself from a man who'd kept such a significant secret. But her heart, her foolish, hopeful heart, remembered every kind gesture, every respectful distance maintained, every moment of genuine connection. If I stay, she said finally, opening her eyes to meet his, no more secrets about anything. No more secrets, Jack agreed solemnly. And I'm not staying as your charity case. I earn my place here, money or no money. You've already earned it 10 times over. Emma took a shaky breath. Then I need time. Time to be angry. Time to adjust. Time to figure out if what I feel is real or just gratitude. Jack nodded, and she saw him swallow hard. However much time you need, I'll be here. The next morning, Emma found papers on the kitchen table, a deed transferring half ownership of the ranch to her name. Beside it was a letter in Jack's angular handwriting. Emma, this isn't a gift. It's acknowledgement of what you've already given this place. You've turned a house into a home, tamed wild horses, planted gardens, and brought life back to land I'd let go lonely. The money my family sent me sits in a bank in Cheyenne. I've never touched it. But if you want it, it's yours. If you want to buy your own ranch, your own life, I'll help you do that. If you want to stay here, you'll do so as an equal owner, not a guest. Choose whatever makes you whole. Jack Emma read the letter 3 times, then walked out to where Jack was working with a young mare in the corral. He saw her coming and paused, his expression guarded but hopeful. Go slow, Emma said as she climbed onto the fence rail. It hurts. Jack's eyes widened slightly. She'd used the exact words she'd said weeks ago, when he'd helped her down from his horse after her first day, when her legs were shaky and unused to riding. I'll die before I hurt you, he replied, and she recognized his response from that same day. Emma smiled despite herself. Dramatic. True. Jack tied off the mare's lead and walked over to where Emma sat. You read the letter. I did, and the deed. Jack, this is too much. It's not enough. It's a start. He rested his hands on the fence rail beside her, not touching, but close. I meant what I said. You've earned this. Tell me about your family, Emma said. Tell me everything. About the railroad, about why you left, about what you're running from. So Jack told her. About a father who measured love in stock portfolios. About a mother who died when he was young. About siblings who'd become strangers, too focused on social climbing to remember what mattered. About women who'd tried to trap him into marriage for his money, and friends who'd borrowed thousands without ever intending to repay him. I woke up one morning in a mansion filled with expensive things and realized I was completely alone, Jack said, staring out at the prairie. I had everything money could buy and nothing that mattered. So I left, bought this land under a different name, built that cabin with my own hands, and tried to figure out who Jack Thornton really was without the fortune defining him. "And did you figure it out?" Emma asked softly. Jack turned to look at her, and the emotion in his gray eyes made her breath catch. "Not until you showed up with your grandmother's locket and your stubborn pride. You showed me who I wanted to be, someone worthy of that kind of strength." Emma felt her anger melting, replaced by a different kind of warmth. "You're not the only one who was testing, you know." "What do you mean?" "Every day I stayed, I was testing myself. Testing whether I could trust again after my father betrayed me. Testing whether a man could be kind without wanting something in return. Testing whether I was strong enough to build a new life." She smiled slightly. "Turns out we were both running experiments." "And what were your results?" Jack asked, and she heard the vulnerability beneath the question. Emma slid down from the fence rail, standing close enough to see the flecks of blue in his gray eyes. "Still collecting data, but the preliminary findings are promising." Jack laughed, a real laugh, full of relief and joy. "I'll take promising." "Good, because I have conditions." Emma crossed her arms, trying to look stern even as her heart raced. "1. You teach me everything about running this ranch. Not woman's work, everything. How to break horses, manage land, handle finances." "Agreed." 2. We tell your family where you are. You don't have to reconcile, but they deserve to know you're alive and well." Jack's expression tightened, but he nodded. "Agreed." 3. We build this life together. Not your money, not my labor, but our partnership. Equal investment, equal say. I wouldn't have it any other way. And 4. Emma stepped closer, close enough that she had to tilt her head back to meet his eyes. "You stop looking at me like I'm going to disappear. I'm here, Jack. I'm staying. You don't have to be afraid anymore." "Emma." His voice caught, and he lifted one hand as if to touch her face, then hesitated. Emma caught his hand and pressed it to her cheek. "I said go slow. I didn't say don't touch me at all." The kiss was gentle, achingly, impossibly gentle. Jack cradled her face like she was precious, kissed her like she was the answer to every question he'd ever asked. Emma's hands fisted in his worn shirt, pulling him closer, and when they finally broke apart, both were breathing hard. "I love you," Jack whispered against her forehead. "Not because you cook or clean or work, just because you're you." "I love you too," Emma admitted, "even though you're an idiot who pretended to be poor." "Fair." "And wealthy." "Also fair." "And apparently terrible at secrets." Jack pulled back enough to look at her, one eyebrow raised. "I kept the secret for 5 years. And then ruined it in 2 months because you fell in love." Emma grinned. "Terrible at secrets." "Best mistake I ever made." 3 months later, Emma sat in the ranch house, their ranch house, going over account books while Jack worked with the horses. She'd learned to ride like a demon, could rope a calf almost as well as Jack, and had expanded their small operation into a thriving business breeding and training horses. She'd also written to Jack's family. His father's response had been cold, focused on when Jack would return to his real responsibilities. But his sister Clara had written back with joy and curiosity, asking permission to visit. The visit was scheduled for next month, and Jack was nervous in a way that made Emma's heart ache. "Mail's here," Jack called from outside. Emma set aside the ledger and went to the door. Jack was holding a telegram, his face gone pale. "What is it?" "Your father's dead. Killed in a gambling dispute 3 days ago." Jack looked up at her, concern etched in every line of his face. "Emma, the men he owed money to, they're looking for you. They think you inherited his debts." Emma felt her stomach drop. "That's insane. I can't inherit debts." "Law says otherwise if you're his sole heir." Jack crumpled the telegram in his fist. "They've put word out. $500 reward for information on your whereabouts." "Then I'll run. I'll go further west, maybe California." "No." Jack's voice was steel. "We face this together. I've got lawyers in Cheyenne, good ones. We'll fight this legally." "Jack, these are dangerous men. They don't care about law, and I don't care about danger." He pulled her close, tucking her head under his chin. "You're not running anymore. We protect what's ours." But Emma couldn't shake the cold dread that had settled in her bones. That night, she lay awake, listening to the prairie wind and thinking about the life she'd built here. The home she'd made. The man she loved. All of it felt suddenly fragile. 3 days later, they came. Emma was in the garden when she heard the horses, too many horses, coming too fast. She looked up to see 6 riders approaching, and her blood ran cold. She recognized the man in front, Marcus Crane, her father's most vicious creditor, a man who'd made his fortune through intimidation and violence. Emma ran for the house, but Crane and his men were faster. They surrounded her, cutting off her escape. "Well, well," Crane drawled, dismounting with predatory grace. "Emma Carter, you've been hard to find." "I don't owe you anything," Emma said, keeping her voice steady despite her racing heart. "My father's debts died with him." "Law says different, sweetheart. You're his heir, so you inherit everything, including his obligations." Crane smiled, showing too many teeth. $15,000, you got that kind of money?" "No. Didn't think so. But that's all right. We can work out alternative payment. You're a pretty thing, and I've got business partners who'd pay well for—" The gunshot rang out before Crane could finish. He stumbled back, clutching his shoulder, blood seeping between his fingers. His men reached for their guns, but froze as Jack emerged from the barn, a rifle in his hands. "Next man who moves dies," Jack said calmly. "Emma, come here." Emma didn't need to be told twice. She ran to Jack's side, and he shifted slightly, keeping himself between her and the armed men. "You just made a big mistake, Cowboy," Crane hissed through gritted teeth. "No, you did, by coming onto my land and threatening my woman." Jack's voice was cold as winter steel. "Now you've got 2 choices. You can leave now and never come back, or you can stay and explain to the territorial marshal why you're collecting on illegal debt with threats of sexual slavery." "Illegal?" Crane laughed despite his wound. Her father signed a contract that violates territorial law. Emma wasn't party to that agreement, and debt cannot be inherited without probate. Ask any lawyer. Jack smiled thinly. "Or ask mine. Clayton Mitchell, out of Cheyenne. Former territorial judge, now the best legal mind in Wyoming. I've already got documents filed claiming Emma's father's estate was insolvent, which means all creditor claims are void. Those documents are sitting in the marshal's office right now, along with a report of your previous business practices." Crane's face went red, then white. "You're bluffing." "Try me." Jack cocked the rifle. "You've got 10 seconds to get on your horses and ride. After that, I start shooting. And out here, who's to say you weren't trespassing with violent intent? Just me and Emma, and the marshal's a friend of mine. Crane looked at Jack, then at Emma, then at his men. Whatever he saw in Jack's eyes made his decision for him. This isn't over. It is, Jack said flatly. Because if you come near her again, I'll use every dollar of my family's fortune to bury you. And we both know the Thornton family has enough money to buy and sell you 10 times over. Crane's eyes widened. Thornton? You're Jack Thornton, yes, son of Henry Thornton, owner of the Transcontinental Railway Company. I've been poor by choice, not necessity. And I've got resources you can't even imagine. Jack's smile was sharp as a knife. So ask yourself, is $15,000 worth making an enemy of one of the wealthiest families in the West? Crane's men were already backing toward their horses. Crane himself hesitated only a moment longer before turning and mounting. You'll regret this. I doubt it. Now get off my land before I change my mind about letting you live. They rode off at a gallop, leaving dust and blood in their wake. The moment they were out of sight, Jack lowered the rifle and turned to Emma, his face gone pale. Are you hurt? No, Jack, you shot him. Should have killed him. Jack's hands were shaking slightly as he set the rifle aside. Emma, I'm sorry. I should have anticipated this. Should have had legal protection in place. Emma threw her arms around him, holding tight. You saved me. No, Jack said fiercely, holding her just as tightly. We saved each other. You're the one who ran for the house, who bought me time to get the rifle. You kept calm, didn't give him anything to use against you. He pulled back enough to look at her. You're not a victim anymore, Emma. You're a survivor, a fighter. Emma felt tears on her cheeks, but they weren't tears of fear. Are we safe now? We will be. I'll send word to my lawyers today and to my father. Henry Thornton might be a cold bastard, but he protects what's his. And like it or not, I'm his son. He'll make Crane's life hell just for touching family. Will you go back? Emma asked quietly. To your family? To that life? Jack cupped her face in his hands, his gray eyes intense. My life is here, with you. But yes, I'll make peace with my family. Not for the money, but because you're right. They deserve to know I'm alive. He smiled slightly. Besides, turns out having wealthy relatives comes in handy sometimes. Emma laughed through her tears. Is that why you told him? To scare him off? I told him because he needed to understand that you're protected. By me, by law, and yes, by money if necessary. I spent 5 years running from my family's wealth, but I won't let pride stop me from using every tool I have to keep you safe. Over the next weeks, Jack's prediction proved true. His lawyers descended on Marcus Crane with the full weight of territorial law and Thornton influence. Crane's business was investigated, his illegal contracts exposed, and his reputation destroyed. He left Wyoming with nothing but the clothes on his back and outstanding warrants in 3 territories. Emma's father's estate was declared insolvent and all debts forgiven. She was free, legally, finally, completely free. Jack's sister Clara arrived for a visit and fell in love with both the ranch and Emma's spirit. She stayed for a month, learning to ride and helping Emma expand the garden. On the last day of her visit, she pulled Jack aside. You found what you were looking for, Clara said softly. I'm happy for you. Tell father I'm not coming back to the business, Jack replied, but tell him I'd like him to meet Emma, if he can be civil. He'll be civil, Clara promised. He misses you, Jack. He just doesn't know how to say it. 2 months later, Henry Thornton arrived at the ranch with a small entourage. He was a hard man with steel gray hair and eyes like Jack's. But where Jack's gaze was warm, Henry's was calculating. He spent 3 days observing the operation, watching Jack work with horses, and evaluating Emma with the cold assessment of a businessman. On the 4th day, he cornered Emma in the kitchen while Jack was out checking fences. "You love my son," Henry stated, not asked. Emma lifted her chin. "I do." "And you're not after his money?" "I didn't know he had money until 2 months after we met, and I loved him before I knew." Henry studied her for a long moment. "Jack tells me you're a full partner here, that you've increased their productivity by 40% in 4 months. "I work hard," Emma said simply. "So I see." Henry's expression softened almost imperceptibly. "My son was lost when he left, angry at me, at his mother's death, at a world that valued him only for his bank account. I didn't understand why he needed to leave, but I see it now. He needed to find someone who could see him clearly." Emma felt unexpected tears prick her eyes. "He's a good man, Mr. Thornton. The best, and you've made him better." Henry pulled an envelope from his coat. "This is a wedding gift, a contract guaranteeing this ranch water rights to the creek in perpetuity, and mineral rights to the land. No strings attached, no expectation of return. Just a father trying to provide for his son's future." "Mr. Thornton, we haven't—" "Haven't you?" Henry raised an eyebrow so like Jack's it made Emma smile. "My son looks at you like you're the son, and you look at him the same way. Call it a pre-wedding gift then." When Jack returned that evening, Emma told him about the conversation. Jack was quiet for a long time. "He's trying," Jack said finally, "in his way." "Will you accept it?" Emma asked. "We'll accept it," Jack corrected. "Together. Always together." Henry stayed 1 more day, and on the morning he left, he pulled Jack into an awkward embrace. "Don't be a stranger," Henry said gruffly. "And bring Emma for Christmas. Clara's already planning the menu." After he left, as autumn painted the prairie in gold and crimson, Jack took Emma riding to the far corner of their property, where an old cottonwood stood beside the creek. The water ran clear over smooth stones, and the trees' leaves whispered secrets to the wind. "This is where I came when I first bought this land," Jack said, helping Emma dismount. "I stood here and promised myself I'd build a life that mattered, a life with meaning." Emma took his hand, lacing their fingers together. "And have you?" "Beyond my wildest dreams." Jack pulled her close, and in the golden afternoon light, he dropped to one knee. From his pocket, he withdrew a ring, simple gold with a small emerald that matched Emma's eyes. "Emma Carter, you walked into my life with nothing but courage and a silver locket. You showed me what real love looks like. Not transaction, not obligation, just pure, honest choice. You chose me when you thought I had nothing, and that choice means everything." Emma felt tears streaming down her face as Jack continued. "I'm not a perfect man. I'm stubborn and sometimes stupid. I'll probably keep too many secrets and work too hard. But I swear to you, on this land we've built together, that I will spend every day choosing you the way you chose me. Honestly, completely, forever. Jack, will you marry me? Will you be my partner in all things, my equal in this life we're building?" Emma dropped to her knees in the grass, framing Jack's face with her hands. "Yes, yes, you impossible man. Yes." The kiss was deep and sweet and full of promise. When they finally broke apart, Jack slipped the ring onto Emma's finger, and it fit perfectly. "It was my mother's," Jack said softly. "The only thing of hers I kept. I've been carrying it for weeks, waiting for the right moment. Emma looked at the ring through tears, then at Jack. "It's perfect. You're perfect." "I'm really not." "Perfect for me, then." They were married in late October as the first snow dusted the mountains. Clara came, and Henry, and several neighbors who'd come to respect the unusual couple who ran the Thornton Ranch. The ceremony was simple, held in the cabin Jack had built with his own hands, officiated by the circuit preacher. Emma wore a simple white dress Clara had brought from Denver, but she also wore her grandmother's silver locket, the one she'd almost sold that first day. Jack wore a new suit, but kept his old, worn boots, a reminder of the man he'd become. "Do you, Jack Thornton, take Emma Carter to be your lawfully wedded wife?" the preacher asked. "I do," Jack said firmly. "To have and to hold, in wealth and poverty, in honesty and trust, forever." "And do you, Emma Carter, take Jack Thornton to be your lawfully wedded husband?" Emma looked at Jack, really looked at him. The man who'd offered her work instead of charity, who taught her to ride and shoot and stand on her own, who'd protected her without diminishing her strength, who'd chosen honesty even when it risked losing her. "I do," she said. "In partnership and equality, in challenge and joy, forever. Then by the power vested in me, I pronounce you husband and wife." The kiss was chaste. It was a public ceremony after all. But Emma felt it down to her toes. This was right. This was real. This was the life she'd never dared dream of when she'd walked into that trading post with her grandmother's locket. That night, after the guests had left and the cabin was quiet, Jack carried Emma over the threshold of their bedroom. He set her down gently, and in the lamplight, she could see the emotion in his gray eyes. "I love you," he whispered. "Every stubborn, strong, impossible inch of you." "Show me," Emma replied, and pulled him down into a kiss that was anything but chaste. They took their time, learning each other by touch and breath and whispered words. Jack was careful with her, mindful of old wounds, and Emma marveled at the gentleness of his calloused hands. They moved together, like they rode horses, in perfect rhythm, trusting each other completely. Later, as they lay tangled together in the darkness, Emma traced the scar on Jack's shoulder from the time he'd been thrown by a green colt. "Tell me about the future," she said softly. Jack's arm tightened around her. "We'll breed the best horses in Wyoming, expand the ranch, maybe buy the land east of the creek, have children who learn to ride before they can walk, build a life so full of love and honesty that our past sorrows become just shadows." "That sounds perfect. What about you? What do you want?" Emma thought about the girl who'd almost sold her grandmother's locket, about the woman who'd accepted work from a stranger out of desperation, about the partner she'd become, equal in all things to the man she loved. "I want exactly this," she said. "Us, together, building something real." "Then that's what we'll have." And they did. Over the years, the Thornton Ranch became known throughout the territory. Not for its wealth, though Jack's family connections certainly helped, but for the quality of its horses and the integrity of its owners. Jack and Emma trained animals with patience and respect, and that reputation brought customers from as far as California. They had 3 children, 2 girls and a boy, all of whom learned to ride almost before they could walk. Emma taught them to cook and garden, and Jack taught them to rope and shoot. But more importantly, both parents taught them the value of honesty, hard work, and choosing love over convenience. Henry Thornton became a fixture at the ranch, visiting twice a year and spoiling his grandchildren shamelessly. On his last visit before his death, he pulled Jack aside. "I was wrong," the old man said simply, "about you leaving, about what mattered. You found something I never did, a partner who makes you better, not just richer. I'm proud of you, son." Clara never married, but she became the children's favorite aunt, arriving with gifts and stories and a willingness to get dirty helping with ranch work. She and Emma became closer than sisters, bound by love for the stubborn Thornton men in their lives. As for Emma's father's creditors, Marcus Crane died in a prison brawl 3 years after his confrontation with Jack. Emma felt nothing at the news except relief that he could never threaten anyone else. The other men who'd worked for him drifted away. Their illegal empire crumbled without Crane's vicious leadership. But the story Emma loved to tell, the one she shared with her children on stormy nights, was about the day she walked into a trading post with her grandmother's locket and met a man who saw her worth when she'd forgotten it herself. "Your father pretended to be poor," she'd tell them, smiling at Jack across the room, just to see who would love him honestly. "And you loved him anyway," their oldest daughter would prompt, knowing the story by heart, but never tiring of it. "I loved him especially," Emma would correct, "because he showed me that real wealth isn't what you have, it's who you share it with. It's choosing each other every day. It's building a life based on honesty, respect, and partnership." Jack would usually add, "And your mother showed me that I didn't need to hide who I was to be loved. I just needed to be worthy of someone like her." "Disgustingly romantic," Clara would mutter whenever she heard the story. But she'd be smiling. Years later, on their silver anniversary, Emma and Jack rode out to that old cottonwood by the creek. Their hair had gray threads now, and their hands bore the marks of decades of hard work. But their eyes still held the same love that had brought them together. "Do you ever regret it?" Emma asked, leaning against Jack as they watched the sunset paint the prairie gold. "Giving up your family's business, living out here instead of in mansions?" Jack pulled her closer, pressing a kiss to her temple. "Every day I wake up next to you, I thank God I was smart enough to choose this life. You're the best decision I ever made, Emma Thornton. Even though I almost sold my grandmother's locket to buy bread, especially because of that. You taught me what real courage looks like, choosing survival without losing dignity, standing tall when the world tried to break you, accepting help without surrendering strength." Emma turned to kiss him properly, deep and sweet, and still thrilling after 25 years. The wealthy cowboy who pretended to be poor just to see who would love him honestly. "And the woman strong enough to love him anyway," Jack added. "Together," Emma said, echoing the word they'd used since their first days. "Always together," Jack agreed. They rode home as the stars came out, their silhouettes against the twilight, a testament to love chosen freely, honestly, and completely. Behind them, the prairie stretched endless and beautiful, holding the history of their journey, from desperate strangers to partners in all things. It was a love story written in sweat and soil, horses and hard work, honesty and hope. It was real in a way that fairy tales rarely are, because it was built on choice rather than chance, partnership rather than possession. And it was, in all the ways that mattered, perfect. Thank you so much for listening to this story. I'd love to know where you're enjoying this tale from. Are you listening at home, during your commute, or perhaps while working. Please subscribe to the From Wild West channel and share your thoughts in the comments below. What did you think of Jack and Emma's journey? Did their story of honesty in love resonate with you? Your feedback means the world to us.